95% of our lives are actually driven by our subconscious dialogue. Our perspective is, I'm over that. I'm an adult. The reality is we're driven by our subconscious. That thing, when you progress, that stops you, started at the kitchen table or in school. I specialize in people who are not blueprint people. What we know about misfit toys, those who don't fit the mold, is you're built to create the mold, not to fit in someone else's.
Joanna Horton McPherson is the founder and master coach of True Influence Method and a limited partner at Stage 2 Capital. She specializes in media and leadership training, helping founders, CEOs, and executives amplify their influence, clarify their purpose, and create lasting impact through transformative communication and strategic frameworks.
The data shows that you're going to see a lot of people leave jobs where they're highly paid for a job that maybe pays less, but where they're valued.
What things are you seeing emerging with AI?
I don't know how you can replace the ability I have to say, I hear you. That is something that one feels in their own heart. And mirror neuron effect, how do you get that in AI? I don't know, because
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Leaders of the Workplace of Tomorrow. Today, I'm super excited to have on Joanna Horton McPherson with the True Influence Method. And to get started, Joanna, if you could just give us a little background about yourself and what's gotten you to this point.
My name's Joanna. I am the founder of the True Influence Method. Super excited to be here with you, Steve. This is exciting to share with you. Yeah, I founded the True Influence Method as a way to go to the root of where your voice is in what you want to say. A lot of speaker trainings are about what you say and the tips, tricks, and hacks for your breathing and how loud you sound and tone and your script. And none of that really addressed what all of my clients, including myself, really needed, which is to overcome the doubt about setting foot on the stage in the first place, to be understood, and have people follow you and act all the way down your sales funnel, all the way down your impact mission, and becoming the person who is the voice for your message. So I created a process that's truly not just about training, but it's the journey of becoming and having an identity evolution through the learning about your message to become the thought leader and speaker that we can be.
And really, and having been through at least one of your programs, it's about perspective, right? And understanding and being able to look at yourself from different angles to come to the realization of who you are, what you meant to be, and eliminating those stories and go a little deeper on that, because there's I think the traditional leadership and coaching is one angle, and yours is a very different approach to an emerging leader. And expand on that a little bit.
Yeah, the word perspective is almighty, because perspective is the relationship we have from where we're standing with our eyes at what we look at and the thing we're doing, right? So it's your speaking. And the shift in perspective is all about gaining an insight through inquiry and inward looking and investigating what is it that I am seeing in my perspective. So I know when someone tells me I want to do this on stage, I have this big goal, this amazing vision. I see myself on stages. I see myself in the media. My message is so important. I have no idea how to get there. And I'm like, great. Now we know where we're going. We put a stake in the ground. But our perspective is looking at this story about myself that I've operated in the subconscious that I got early on, usually as a child, like I'm not enough, or who wants to hear what I have to say, or what's special about me, or I can't do that. So the shift, Steve, is my process is about learning. And learning is sort of this unconditional activity that we get in the world when you want to do something, but you've got to go beyond what you already know, which can be very uncertain. And it will be there. You find truth. You find things that were always there that we couldn't see. So here's an example. What the biggest breakthrough, and you know this, Steve, the biggest breakthrough is tantamount to when I meet a client, they jump off the cliff and the rest of the journey is learning to fly. That first breakthrough is the question I ask, where did this begin? This question you have about your ability to be on stage, or who am I, or, the story that maybe you haven't been able to safely talk about or be aware of. that kept you from getting on stage, kept you from making the investment in yourself to train, has stopped you. That thing, when you progress, that stops you, started at the kitchen table or in school. Someone said something. It was a person, it was a time, and there was a moment. We call these defining moments in our life. Now, typically, we forget them. They're in the past, but
We forget them.
well, exactly. We speaking of perspective, our perspective is, I'm over that. I'm an adult. The reality is we're driven by our subconscious. So a lot of my training in learning and in neuroscience education is about 95% of our lives are actually driven by our subconscious dialogue. So wouldn't it serve us to get in contact with that and bring more of it online to shift it? That's the whole method. So just to close this piece here, that breakthrough is to bring in the subconscious conversation that started back then at age 6 in a classroom at home with your parents, with yourself, and to make it conscious. That takes vulnerability. It takes safety. So that is the most important thing I can provide for a client, is to say, let's lower the stakes here. Like, we get to figure this out before you step on stage safely with me, where it's private, no one hears it. Let's go beyond what we've been willing to see before and say, what happened? What was the impact that had on me? It gives me goosebumps talking about it because it's emotional.
Yeah.
And then the last piece is, how does this connect to what I want to do out there in the world? That's the shift, that perspective. And you can speak to this, Steve, because you've been through this breakthrough in yourself, and everyone has one. Everyone has a story. So it's not like, will I have a breakthrough? It's like, you will, because you're going to shift your perspective about why you're here. And so then that story starts to be like, well, actually, that was never my fault. I didn't know that until now, that actually this was really going on with those people. And what I'm really here to do is learn this lesson through that. So this lesson is actually, for me, the lesson was, no one will love me more than I will love myself. I had a lot of self-love issues. Like, you're not lovable. No one will ever love you. You need to be liked to be valid. I learned that likability is an inside job. And I bring that message now in my thought leaderships. That's everybody. So your message, your learning is your path to thought leadership. I think I'll pause there because I think you'll probably have more questions for me about that.
I think, what I'd like to touch on for a moment is just your own journey and your own path. I think you've taken a very non-traditional approach to leadership, and a lot of the leadership courses and programs are very different from what the work you're doing. And I imagine that it's been a challenging path, right, for you to get to where you're at and get people to understand what you've seen and always believed, right? And so, yeah, take us through kind of that journey and where things are at today. Because I think, now it's like you're being heard a lot more, it feels like.
That's a great point. And I think, Steve, you're the first person who's articulated in this way. And I so appreciate how you see what it means to be the difference. I specialize in people who are not blueprint people. Like, we're like, oh, am I special or I just don't fit? Like the Village of Lost Misfit Toys. Like, those are my people, It's true, because what we know about misfit toys, those who don't fit the mold, is you're built to create the mold, not to fit in someone else's. But the shift is to understand that and to have the identity as a creator and not make it a problem like we're wrong, right?
Yeah.
I will talk about my being understood on the leadership side, and then go back to your first part of your question about what I know about that in my personal journey, which I'm still learning to tell. So the piece about being understood is the message we put out is the drum we beat. So it's like, if you're a beacon, if you're a thought leader, you just step and repeat the thing you're here to say. The key is to not say different things. Your thought leadership is the mold that you set. The standard that you believe is the standard. For me, it's your authentic self. Your true voice is the path to greater influence and to mastery. And I know that's true because I and my clients are examples of that. Increasingly, my clients are people I can share, what their experiences are, and they share that with the testimonials. What that means, Steve, is it's tempting when you want to succeed to copy what others have done. That's the template way, right? To follow the template, follow the blueprint. But it's very unsatisfying, and it very rarely leads to success unless it happens to align with you naturally, in my opinion. So you look at the world of multiple intelligences. This comes from Harvard, from Howard Gardner. He created the multiple intelligences model, which shifted the education field completely and is extremely, extremely influential in my world. Here's why. In the world of multiple intelligences, we've created many systems, education being one of them, again, back to our childhood, where if you do things this way and you're great at tests and you're great at speaking, you're going to be successful. And we only tested that as intelligence and mastery. But what I know, Steve, is if we want to reverse engineer to that vision we have to be greater and be an impactor and be a voice, we must master our own form of intelligence, but find out what it is that's unique to us. So what I think is not understood is that uniqueness is mastery. It's your path to mastery. It's your core genius. It's your zone of genius. And you'll hear research about, oh, your zone of genius. Great. Well, let's apply that research into influence and speaking and leadership and business and finance and visibility in media, and reverse engineer and say, who is Steve unique to himself? What's his kind of intelligence and the message he has that only he can have, and have him beat that drum. So there may be today, no one knows about Steve. These people know about Steve. These hundreds or thousands of people who hear your podcast know about Steve. But over time and repeated message clarity, that beacon gets bigger. And there are people who hear you. And there are people who are like Steve, the old Steve, the younger Steve, who need you. They need you. And this is what it looks like to change the world, because the women and the people, the leaders and men and women who hear me about you are perfect as you are. We just need to orient you so you can be first understood to yourself, have a drum that you can clearly beat, and become that beacon over time. It takes time, and it takes being in social media, having a team around you, investing in the right things. There's a whole path to it. And then, so what it means for leadership, and this is really my mission, is to free all of us, and in particular our children, because our kids are friends in the same school, and it's an entrepreneurial school. So we're already investing in the future being different. Those children need permission to be themselves and master who they are, not who they feel they should be. That is the way of leadership in the future. It's called healed leadership. I call it healed leadership because it takes dismantling and unschooling oneself, disabusing yourself of the idea that you're not enough because you didn't fit this mold. I want the healed leadership model to be setting the new category in the field. Today, my Forbes article came out. I'm in Yahoo and MSNBC over the weekend. It's so exciting because I'm finally seeing myself be in the rooms I dreamed of and in the publications I thought were for someone else. But through the method, you can achieve it. You can achieve thought leadership through mastering your own uniqueness.
What were the moments as you've gone through this where like it just clarified, like, the current version of leadership is no longer serving us, or
Open your phone and look at anything, right?
right.
Your question is, how do we know we need something better?
Yeah, like I guess like the path to realization, from your standpoint of like, you've persisted through all of this. So like why does the current model no longer work? And what are some of those moments of realization where like the light bulb just goes on and you're just like, I know I'm right.
Like anyone, I read the news and I see the data, mental health statistics, suicide, youth who are on their phones. My husband and I go to restaurants and see families where they're dining with their screen, not with each other. And how does this relate to what I'm saying? The data shows that you're going to see a lot of people leave jobs where they're highly paid for a job that maybe pays less, but where they're valued. They will leave a toxic work environment where they're treated like the number and they're treated like the KPI and not a person who's investing their time and energy into a mission or a place. Those are two different ways of viewing the world, Steve. So why do I know it doesn't work is the data shows that people leave places where they're not seen in their unique gifts. So people are like, oh, these Gen, I don't even know what letter we're on now, XYZ, XQL. The new young people coming up, some of whom I mentor, are my people. They're getting a bad rep because they're like, oh, well, I want to be valued and seen. And I'm like, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah,
you. No,
yeah.
seriously, I'm
I want to make more money. I want to be creative. Like, I don't want to have this job where I just manage and oversee people and do redundant
100%.
paperwork tasks, right? It's like,
Right.
who can blame them?
I was born in the wrong generation because I am totally on board with that. Because what
Yeah,
they're actually saying, Steve, that our generation is in an old template of no,
yeah,
work is a compartment and it's a silo you live and you
right.
got to park your human self outside and just suck it up. You're lucky to be here.
It's
It
work.
doesn't work. Well,
Yeah,
it's work,
it's
but
work.
it's
It does, but
also it's disconnected from the
yeah,
purpose of being here on this planet, more
yeah,
importantly. So you have people who will consume things, they consume food, they consume garbage media to fill the void of not feeling like a full person. So if you are younger in this new generation are saying, look, I want to be fulfilled, they actually have already figured out what you're trying to figure out by buying the next XYZ thing that will still not fulfill you, right? So here's where the answer is for me, Steve, is it's great to say I want to be a human at work. I think it's fantastic. The research I now use in the white paper and in my method and how I speak to people in the media and on stage and otherwise, psychological safety, which is the feeling in your body that you belong here, that you are safe, that you can be respected here as a person, that your voice actually weighs in the room, will be part of the decision-making process, that what you care about and your purpose, that maybe you don't know it clearly, but that they know you have one. It all matters at work, and it's all part of work now, is to be a full person. So places that do psychological safety work is simply like I talk about women and I talk about male allies too, which you are one. Male leaders who are healed leaders know how to speak to their team. The same team that could have turnover and people looking for jobs while they're at work, leaving. Why are people, what's wrong with them? Throw some more software at it. Throw another
yeah,
training at it. None of which will ever get people into their purpose to feel seen, heard, valued, respected at work. But those of us who are healed leaders come in and say, hey, this gets to where you and I talk about how our work is so aligned, is to get people on one page, like, what matters deeply to you? How does it connect to this thing we're creating together, greater purpose above everyone? Where do you sit with it? What matters? What do you see? What do you see? Now let's all talk from our own angle and go to work with creating that in your own lane. To wrap that thought, it is in those psychologically safe environments, you get higher productivity, greater profit, much more efficient workers. They can work fewer hours and get more done than in an environment where someone's breathing down their neck, no one's talking to you about your weekend, those type of things.
they're more,
So
yeah, more creative, more innovative, more, right, like
yeah,
what, like more ownership, right?
more
Yeah,
ownership, more creative. People are like, be creative. And then the leader is like only living like they're a spreadsheet. So there's a disconnect here. And the work I do,
yeah,
the strategic work I do with clients is not about the business. Your profit center is in the people and how you relate to them. It is always going to be true. And AI will never really replace. Yeah.
it accelerates the need for it. I mean, that, like, from my perspective, right? Like it,
Absolutely. It can be a tool. And we talk about this as a tool for
yeah.
communication. Yeah.
So, I'm interested in this because it's like, I think of, like, how do you apply your method, within organizations, right? And what, like, the reality of what we see in organizations today, everybody is distracted. And I mean, like, it's very hard to even get a meeting with someone with their full attention. And one of the, like, as I, really dug into understanding the true influence method. And I mean, I've been through the program, but like, there still is, like, reflection, right, that needs to be done to truly understand what you're trying to do. And one of the things that jumped out to me is, true influence, like, it's a paradox where, true influence is, I love it, like you're actually like, there's the ego influence where it's like, no, I'm going to influence this. And then there, like, true influence is like relaxing almost, right? And doing less
That's right.
to right, to get more.
Absolutely. It's like when we're in a contracted state, most people are at the first pass when they're new to speaking. And I always talk about speaking as it's like the first output for the method. The longer you go, like anything, the more you spend, the more value you get, the more time you spend. It can be money too, but that's not the issue. It's the input the person put. The more time over time, the more value you get. The first output is the speaking, where you can not be in a constricted state, but to learn to trust your body when all of the eyes in the room are on you, and to learn how to breathe and open in that space is the first shift. How do you get there? I love that you talk about the paradox. The true influence, I remember when I was naming this method, it had to be that way, because that level of visibility, when you choose the spot of influence, the front of the arrow, the front of the room, the one who has all the eyes and the ears, 100,000 people listening to you, what would you say? Imagining that, yes, that is my spot. The only way to really move people is to tell them truth that they can feel in their body when you open your mouth. What gets me on fire and wakes me up in the morning is getting my people who are on that spot and have that level of authority to sink deeper and become a rooted, very clear in your truth, very clear in who you are person, so you can embody your purpose and your message in front of them as an education to them, as a contribution that elevates the room. I know everyone has that potential, but I'm not for everybody. So you ask, like, how do I bring it into a business? I have very few clients for a reason, because I go deeply with people. The best clients I have, and especially in higher profit, higher revenue businesses, are the kind of leaders who actually have unlocked and figured out on their own. I don't have to teach them that the point of transformation in our business is within themselves as a leader. They already know that. So they find me because they know I do the depth work. That is the beginning of how you bring that into the business. So speaking is first output, but it's actually in your team. For a CEO, if it's not always a founder, sometimes it's an executive, a CEO, but I need to work at the top, because that is the point of influence for everyone in that business, whether they're aware of it or not. How that person shows up will influence their colleagues who show up differently for them. It's the vulnerability and the willingness to realize that your own dialogue within yourself is your place of influence. And if there's stuff that's bothering you, things that are not aligned, that's the work to master leading your team. To create safety for them means creating safety for yourself, feeling safe to tell the truth, to not cover when something's wrong, to be willing to look deeply without conditions, without putting pressure on people that's not theirs. It's always great to be the accountable one in front of others, and to trust yourself and respect yourself enough to know that you might be taking on a lot, but actually eliminates 100 other headaches by not projecting your unwillingness to look deeply onto others. You can't ever pass the buck when you're a leader, ever. So I'm like, how are we going to own the vision in you? What do you know? And so there's just a whole process I go with the same insight. It's the same questions, but at that level in a business, it's really customized. I'm a partner. I tell people, it's like, imagine your brain and I'm a turbo pack on your brain, and we're working together for your learning. You're learning about what this will look like in your business to increase their engagement, which is through you, your relationship to yourself and your relationship to them, how you talk to them, what the expectations are, and it goes from there.
I mean, if you're in at the top, like after that, and I think part of this is, I guess, maybe labeling what exactly they went through and understanding what they went through. But like, to me, scaling an organization it's applying that same methodology through all the other humans in the organization.
Yeah. Through strategic plan. I mean, I didn't mention that part, but it's not all like spiritual work. It's strategic. Absolutely 100% strategic. I had someone say that they had to throw out their entire strategic plan once they learned my method. And I was really glad. I was like, I'm sure that felt like a lot of work, but it's actually way faster.
Yeah.
When you align all of your expectations, KPIs, goals, when you get your team on board, things move faster. It's the deeper work of how you become the person who gets people on board. That's the biggest shift. You see how that works, right? But
Yeah.
the strategic plan is almost, it almost builds itself once you're aligned to how your team is the answer.
Yeah, I mean, we see it every day. I think with and AI like amplifies that, and I think everybody's looking at AI as like, how do we use AI? It's the tool, it's the solution, it's and to me, we're focused on the wrong thing. Like, pick your head up, like look at all the humans in your organization. Like, that's where your focus needs to be.
Right. What it means to create a safe space is, I love this. I talk about this a lot. I used to think that, well, this gets into my journey, Steve. Being a patient person, like someone who can listen and hear deeply what people are saying, asking good questions, were all not useful skills. I was like, yeah, but I see these people doing that and leading this. And I did not understand that to know how to make a connection with someone and to really feel and receive them and to be someone who can validate someone with how I hear them and how I witness them. It's a teachable skill. And these are skills for very advanced levels of leadership. And I'm not saying that about me, myself. I'm saying that about what I witness in the leaders in the top of the world who know how to align strategy to really being a highly attuned person who can receive people and connect with people. Strategy and being a people person, that is what leadership looks like. Yeah.
It's strategy and empathy, right?
Yeah. Empathetic strategy, strategic empathy. Yeah. 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 And then how that looks is, when I go into a business, I think you did ask this, I start with a messaging piece. It's the same process. That phase 1 breakthrough, I do that with the executive and with their team because it gets the person online in the room. And it gets the vulnerability, the trust, and the risk-taking, all the creative, innovative behaviors people say they want. It's not theoretical. There are actual tools with a defining moment tool, your why tool, and your 5-minute talk tool is all aligned to inside this environment about the goals you're setting. So instead of talking about your thought leadership, someone will talk about their lane in the business. Having clarity about how I show up, why this matters to me, my why related to my role in selling this product to people. You could never imagine. Why would you do a talk about how you do sales? Because sales isn't sales. You're creating experience. There's a greater reason why you're here. What is it? How do you talk about it? And that's the beginning to getting people really online in the business. That's the beginning for them to go deeper. When we say deeper engagement, that's what that looks like. Being a voice on behalf of sales. Is that a thing? Yes, it is a thing. You can turn that into social media too. You can put that online. You can use it for your website. You can do any number of things for across the business. Yeah, the strategic planning wise.
And is that, and I don't know how like deep you've gotten, into that strategic planning, but that, that to me, that's the missing piece, right? Is, again, back to true influence. Like, it's like you've got the business owner who is trying to do all of this. It's like all of this stuff, right? And if they were to just let go of sales, right? And give it to someone else, right? And then say, look, you build sales. Like, you define it, you establish it, like, you come back to me, like, I'll collaborate with you, but like, take this and run with this.
Right.
Right.
It takes trust, clarity, trust.
Yeah. So you've been doing this for a while now. What things are you seeing emerging or converging with AI and all of the chaos that it is right now?
It's a great question. Like anyone, I know where I operate best. So I don't step too much out of my lane. I let people show me the tools they're using in AI, and we use them a lot in my business. I ask people like you and other people who do integrations to show me things. My method, though, is really always on the human side inside of them. And I let them bring, software is a great application to what your purpose is. And it can look like any number of things. I would say on the AI side, what gets to be exciting is designing very highly attuned, sophisticated GPTs for your thought leadership. So if you have a message, I have someone who's building an app based on her book she's done. And I'm actually in the process of doing that for my own book, which is amazing because we're both doing it at the same time. But I think increasingly You can make a way to take like Joanna out of Joanna and park it in an AI form to get these insights. What can't be seen though, and can't be experienced. So if you're doing like a conversation and you're doing a chat with the Joanna AI on the True Influence method and getting the insights, and you're in phase 1 and it knows where you are and it knows what it needs to find out. The thing that we can't really create yet, I'm open to it. I don't know how you can replace the ability I have, and soon the facilitators I train, to be the mirror and to say, I hear you. That is something that one feels in one's own heart, and is a mirror neuron effect. How do you get that in AI? I don't know, because in the lived experience of a human, I have lived experience. I haven't shared some of the details, which I think we could. How does AI ever have lived experience about journeys, struggle, and emotional blocks, things they've had to break through, overcome, what they've transformed, what they've discovered? The mirror neuron effect and the heart-to-heart effect tends to draw out my clients to this extent of feeling love. I feel a lot of love with my clients and they feel safe. That is created through interaction and reflecting and mirroring back to someone and valuing them with my own experience and compassion.
Yeah, I mean, I think, there's definitely things you can do to like more deeply, ingrain those experiences in an AI, right? Or constrain responses with, I mean, that's like what we like, how you store that data on the back end and all of those things. But it's still, it never, like, it's never going to encapsulate you. Right. And it's never going to be you. Right. So like sitting in front and across from you is always going to be a different experience than whatever AI you build. Right. But yeah.
I want to share my lived experience because we've mentioned it a few times and I don't want to skip over it because you did ask me to share. As a young person, I remember age 9 was a very pivotal time. I don't know why, but suddenly when one becomes conscious, and I like to tell my story knowing that other people hear their own stories in it, and it took me a long time to be able to do this. I didn't like myself. I thought I was fat, ugly, unlovable. We moved. I didn't have friends. I was like a loner. And I think in the development of any young person, where you find a safe relationship, where someone can see you and give you a sense of healing or love, matters a lot. And I certainly had many people come into my path, but the space that really shifted for me was in theater. I found theater at age 13, and it was the first place where I saw people being themselves.
Yeah.
And with full acceptance from the group, because they needed you to be yourself and get in front on a stage, which could be public speaking is the top fear in the world because it's incredibly anxiety inducing to have all the eyes on you, not knowing if you're being a fool or embarrassing yourself or like look stupid or any of that stuff. I was possessed by the idea that other friends of mine knew how to be comfortable with who they were in front of people and I didn't. It was safe to experiment there. So I kept coming back. I ended up studying acting, created an acting studio. I've been on stages. I was a professional actor for years, had agents, was in film, television, commercials, Shakespeare, you name it, I did it. And I learned a craft called emotional honesty acting, which was the beginning of this path where I work with people and I train students. I was a teacher for years also, some master's degrees in education. But what I learned about acting was that it wasn't about the visibility of the ego, the being seen, the being validated thing. Acting was about how to be listening to yourself and trusting yourself and being in your gut and your intuition and paying attention to how you feel in front of people. Through meditation in my life, during a divorce, a lot of shifting my path of doing acting, the emotional honesty acting, and meditating helped me discover that I did not love myself. And to find the seed of that dialogue that I'd been in allowed me to start a path where I decided, let me take that on and like develop a way to truly love myself and bring that to everything I do. And I talk about that, Steve, because it's self-worth. It's like knowing you're enough, knowing that you're lovable. And some days I do really struggle like anyone. You don't really graduate from these things. You just get really good at practicing it. So it starts to look on the outside like you've graduated, but you never leave that place in yourself. You always know how to love yourself and talk to yourself. And that over time shifted into me working with people as a coach. I was in a mental health counseling program, so I did have clients I was doing counseling with. And then over time, as I built nonprofits, I got on more boards. I was doing strategic planning. I was the president of this. Built this school. I've been in strategic spaces. I realized this is my home. It's with leaders. It's with visionary leaders. This level of depth belongs in their hands. And now I'm talking at scale. I'm talking about billion-dollar companies, famous, world makers, the top of the visibility decision-making chain. Those are the people we need the most healing from because they affect a lot of people. That brings us up to today.
Yeah, and I mean, one thing to touch on, because I think, and you'll have to back me with some of the science on this, but I have read it's all of us, right? Like it doesn't have to be a traumatic experience in your life. Like all of us, sometime between the ages of 0 and 6, right? Something occurs, right? And we start telling stories. And one story leads to the next, and all of a sudden we're down this path where like we're just detached from our genuine self. And I just think it's important when you talk about your method, it doesn't mean like it's entirely off track, right? Or it could be this very minor subconscious block, right, in your mind that like you would never even suspect was there. I mean, some of the work that I've done, right, it just was like I didn't know I subconsciously was thinking that. But yeah, like expand on that a little bit, because I think your program should be much more available, right? Like, and I know that's some of the things you're trying to do, right? Is also expand and not just get leaders, but bring more awareness to. So yeah, tell us a little bit about what you're trying to do there.
Yes, from your mouth to God's ears, Steve. I have a mission for millions of people, society, to really get the benefit of the permission and the tools to come from your authentic self anywhere, in any way. Yeah, that's a great point. People do have like an allergy to the traumatic side of things. Who wouldn't, right? Who wants to do that? It feels totally unrelated to leadership, and in a way, it is. We don't do trauma work in the method. We do subconscious work, and that happens to be where trauma lives. I'm not a trauma specialist. I happen to have done basically every therapy you can think of to work with my own trauma. And it would be untrue to say that doesn't inform the method, because it 100% informs the method. But I have a strategic way to access what could be traumatic events in a safe way. And it's through the container of safety in the relationship I have with people, where I let them know, like, this is for you. And you're in control, and we're guided always by your greater purpose, which typically when someone's operating in their own bathwater, thinking about a trauma, or like thinking that I'm going to ask them to re-trigger themselves, that's how we relate to it, is in real time. But the method is completely opposite. We go from your greater purpose and the vision you have, asking backwards, how does this connect to this? And that opens what you just said, the willingness to learn something, to bring more online, to operate from more of your brain, because it's already operating, but it's operating against you instead of for you, right? That story is already in the subconscious. It's already there. How I get a leader, or anyone, frankly, to go there with me, is the truth that there may be things we overlook or overstep, and it's found in the problems that present themselves. Often it's a financial problem, or a relationship with yourself, a confidence problem. So if there is a problem, then we're in, just like that. I just can work with them to tease it out, and through the explaining to them, this is a safe space to go deeper than you had before. This isn't the stage. It's the prep work for you becoming that person through what we're going to discover together. I say the words together so that they know I'm with them. And I show them the process 3 steps ahead, so they know why we're doing what we're doing and where it takes us. I do that almost every exercise. I show them the map, only a few steps, the path. Because when I'm asking you to become vulnerable and share things you maybe have never said or haven't been willing to bring into your space, you need to know the purpose and what it's going to lead to. So it's the magic of that repeated process over time. And soon it shifts out of the vulnerable space into risk taking. So first it's going in and looking what's here. How does my story relate to my purpose? Okay, now I know why I've had to bring this lesson into my work. Now the risk taking is to bring your voice into the space of others and into conversations, and to become more authentic and more willing to share what you've learned, to bring more of the person into the room, which creates safety for other people. If you're willing to be honest with yourself, with your team, guess what they're going to feel permission to do? They'll be honest with themselves, with you, and
Right.
that's what that's how trust happens. It's in real time. But we must
Yeah.
become a trustworthy person within ourselves and not be so guarded and afraid that there's something horrible you'll discover, because it's really the fear of fear that stops us. The fear of fear.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's moving from a closed system to an open system.
Say more. What do you mean?
I mean, and we've seen this, with the internet. Like, we're seeing this, I think, even some of the organizations, which we'll talk about here in a minute, some of the things that you're doing, but like in researching some of those organizations, like it's an open network, right? And so we're in this transition from, a closed network and closed mindset, right? To opening our mindset, opening our willingness to connect with others. And from a entropy, right? Entropy within a closed system continues to expand, right? But when you actually open that system, entropy, reduces, right? And order emerges, through that open system. And to me, this is the transit, as we become aware, this is collective intelligence, right? This is our, our willingness to open up to the intelligence of each individual one of us and collaborate with each other to create this abundant future that we're stepping into.
I'm so glad the way you say that is so different than the way I say it. And the way, what image I get in my brain when you talk, Steve, is the microcosmic collective of a team, an executive board, or a team, a sales team, and the macrocosmic collective of society. Those are both true because these tools apply at all levels. And the outputs we want, when you talk about, it's not enough for me to have a business profit more. That doesn't get me up in the morning. What gets me up in the morning is the people are alive inside of that place. And when you're alive and you're tuned in and you're turned on to what you're doing, more creative ideas come out, more vulnerability and trust. You use your AI better and you're thinking more deeply and you're willing to put more into it personally, more time, more thought, because you see a purpose in it. And what happens is it creates more profit. The people want to buy because you're on fire. The outcomes are clearer to them. They get more out of your product. And that benefits everyone along the entire chain. And that gets me up in the morning, is the impact that these products will have on people because of the people making them had an impact on their lives.
All right, so you got a lot going on right now. I feel like you're all over the place. I see you on social media, on Forbes, on this, on that. So yeah, kind of fill us in on what's next and what you're working on and where you're going. And excited to learn more about some of these different projects that you're working on.
We got stuff coming, one of which you're going to be involved with, which is the next Speak and Rise stage in a retreat, which I'm super excited about, because part of what I notice when I go out into live spaces is how much people really feel safety and feel breakthroughs. And what I get excited about is giving a bigger container, deeper container to actually go into the work with me at the retreat. So I don't know when this episode airs, but our retreat is in September, and we've sold some, but not all of the seats. And I will have people who go and do training work to appear on that stage and get the benefit of being visible, having feedback from the safety of that group of professionals doing the work, and getting their video and footage that up levels how people look at you on the internet. The footage of you doing your signature talk, which is what they're doing on stage with me, is the elevating factor that shifts people's voice in the field. Is that footage when you start to share it out there. What I'm also doing, so that's with me, right? That's in True Influence Method world. I built myself out as a thought leader, and I made a commitment in 2026 to get more visible. I had no idea how fast it would happen. I got in Forbes and ABC. Yeah, I mentioned some of the other outlets. And we're only in the first 6 months. So I feel like I'm checking boxes, which is an incredible feeling. Now I get to, this was my commitment, Steve. I don't need visibility for me. I need it for my purpose to meet more people and bring them in. Now we're going to have an ABC show called The Standard, which is my hosting a space and segments on ABC to invite entrepreneurs with thought leadership qualities who have a product that is setting the new standard in the industry for how we should be. And so what I'm saying is, if you mastered what your unique template is that you want others to now benefit from, that is your place. And what I'm going to offer people as well is to do a Forbes article. I haven't announced this, so I'm going to announce it here. But my guests will be appearing on ABC and can have an article in the Business Council with Forbes, which is like, I don't know how many millions of people see those. That is a press release about their work. So that is my way of bringing visibility so their voices can reach more people.
Very excited to continue to see the progress you're making. Excited to be a part of this in some capacity, and to have gone through the program myself. And I know there's many more to come. So
grateful for you. I just want to say this before, I don't mean to interrupt you, Steve. You are so special to me for multiple reasons. One, you're my friend, and I get to do this work with you. It's such a gift because you're the kind of person you are matters so much. I get to surround myself with the best, kindest people who are integrity, and that's you. And I'm so grateful that we do this work together. And the second is, talking to the listeners now in this podcast, if you haven't heard Steve's talk, it will change your life, because I learned so much about your journey and the Asperger's diagnosis, unlocking your genius, and how it relates to AI and the mission you're on to help people and society and the world become in collective intelligence. I am so honored and excited to ride this with you and help your thought leadership voice reach more people.
thank you very much. And so where could people find you? Want to make sure. So you've got the retreat coming up, some other items. You got a call. It'll be past that by the time this airs, but some other events and things happening. So where can people follow you, find you, learn more about what it is you're doing?
Yeah, I'd like to make an invitation to everyone to come on the first Friday of every month. I do the Vaults, which is the safe, closed door space where the stakes are low to share and have a conversation with me, a live conversation on Zoom. That's on the first Friday, so that'll be July 5th. Imagine the first calendar. You can find the way to register on my website, which is trueinfluencemethod.com or joannahortonmcpherson.com. And I'm on socials like everyone else. So if you just spend a little time finding where you can connect with me, I answer people personally. I'm hoping that will always be true. But when people reach out to talk to me, ask me a question, I answer. My team answers, but if someone wants to contact me, I will answer them. So if you want to ask me a question, I'm here to help you learn. So let's connect.
All right, great. Well, thank you again, Joanna. I appreciate it. And, thanks so much for being on the show and for all you're doing.
Thank you, Steve.